Welcome back, everybody, to me being grumpy about the Wheel of Time. And it happens again and again, and today we continue to be grumpy about A Crown of Swords. Chapters 7 to 13 is what I'm talking about today, and we'll get the whole 9 yards of Egwene stupidity today, and a bit of Rand, and a bit of what's his name? What's their name? Elaine and Nynaeve, right, which is even more stupid. We'll go there once we have to go there. So, let's do this, shall we? Why, cheers. All right, so what happens? Rand goes to, what's the place called? Camelin, does a bit of Camelin talk about stuff that is only slightly interesting, nothing much new coming to light there. And then we leave him. Then we learn about the troubles and travails of Egwene, whatever her name is. You know, Egwene. Being Amyrlin or not Amyrlin and trying to become more Amyrlin, and we see Robert Jordan trying to fumble his way through writing intrigue again. He does obviously fail miserably, but we kind of knew that before, didn't we? Well, yeah, we did. So yeah, once that happens, we get a bit of like Lan things, because, you know, Lan was back. I think I spoke about that. He kind of showed up in like one small scene. And yeah, after that, we'll, go back and see how people in Ebudor are getting along. And that's going to be where most of the really annoying stuff happens. So, what's there to talk about with Rand? Well, actually, not much. He goes to Camelin. He finds out what happened while he was locked up in a box, which is, you know, people trying to put, I keep forgetting her name, on the throne, and that person not wanting to, and just trying to be regent until Elaine Trakan shows up, which I assume will happen sooner or later. What else? Well, not much. Yeah, that's basically it. There's not that much. We once again have like the whole like the usual dumb stuff about people talking, you know, about how marriages work in this world kind of thing going down, which, you know, we have with Bashir and his wife, and Melaine, I think Melaine, whatever. Too Aiel, no one cares about, basically. And it's once again like, women, the usual crap of women and men not being able to understand each other because, you know, it doesn't make any sense. But it's mostly just annoying at this point. So I'll just like gloss over it. Nothing much happening there. We'll see where it will be going in the near future. But apparently the actual attack on Samael in Ilion is finally about to begin. So maybe we'll get some, you know, action and stuff. Because action is sort of where things work better in these books, I feel. It's, you know, it's still sort of like the best Bobby J can do at this point, so I'll, you know, not carp too much about it. And instead, we'll go and look at Egwene and all the stuff that happens there. So, what happens with Egwene? Egwene is pretending to be the Amyrlin seat. I mean, she is the Amyrlin seat and is trying to be the Amyrlin seat while everyone around her is pretending she's only playing at it and everyone else has the power. So we get her whole arc basically right now is her to actually cement like a power base, build a power base and become, you know, the Amyrlin in truth and not just a figurehead, which is the name of that chapter. That first one, what's chapters 8, I assume. And yeah. Whatever. It kind of works. And there's a few interesting ideas here that I find, you know, generally fascinating. Once again, I feel time doesn't fully work, but maybe that's just my weird, you know, memory that's kind of broken. or just vagueness in Bobby J's writing, but like the way I understood it last time round at the end of Lord of Chaos, which is sort of, I think, part of the epilogue. I'm not quite sure because, who cares? Remember that Mogedian, whatever, however you pronounce that person, gets freed by yeah, I forgot her name. The reconstituted Arangar. That's her name. In whatever disguise she's in right now. They are in right now. I'll just stick with they pronouns at this point with that person because I think there's a problem there. We'll talk about that in a second. So right, that was, and from the way I remember the chapter, and I'm not going to go back and double check because fuck that. Point is, I thought the freeing of Logain, who for some reason or other has discovered or developed a second name and is now Logain Ablar, but whatever. And I thought him being freed by Egwene and Arangar freeing Mogedion happened in the same night. Turns out this is not the case, and there's some nights in between. So either I misread it, or Bobby J kind of retrofitted stuff because, retcon some shit. Which doesn't, I don't care at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. It was just like weird for me because I'm like, yeah, I thought this happened the same night. But we start out with Mogedion still being in her tent. And, yeah. Egwene noticing that she gets freed. Well, there we are. Let's start out with a generic observation about the way these stories are told. I think there is for me at least, over time, there has been a noticeable shift, a noticeable difference between Matt Rand and Perrin's storylines, or parts like viewpoints, and Egwene, Elaine, Nynaeve, and apparently also Aviendha viewpoints. And that's a difference in tone. Matt Rand and Perrin's stories are rather serious and so forth, right? Straightforward, serious, with maybe a little bit more levity in Matt parts, but only maybe a little bit. But once we move to like the ladies, the female protagonists in general, there creeps in a certain level of humor. Some of it rather crude and cheap. Like, for whatever reason, we now get informed about how Egwene is struggling with camping chairs and camping tables. Yep, those things suck. I get it, but like having it mentioned every single time that maybe the table falls down or maybe her chair falls down and dumps her on the floor is like, why? I mean, it's not like we haven't had other people on the road with armies or in small groups or whatever. So why is this the person that Robert Jordan chooses to do that with? And I think it's I can see him trying to go for a more like lighthearted tone, a bit more like irony, a bit more like, ironic distance, a bit more humor with some of the viewpoint characters, and I approve of that in general. I like the idea that you have different tones depending on which viewpoint you're working with. What I find interesting, and up to a point where I find like problematic, again, because, I always have to find some issue with stuff, is that all the male characters get like the seriousness and all the female characters get the ridicule. And I'm wondering whether there is something like, if that's a pattern that is rooted in something that I don't want to, approve of, because I think it can be read that way. I'm not saying it is that way, I'm just saying it can be read as another aspect of Robert Jordan's weird view on gender and sort of deeply ingrained sexism that he decides to make all the slapstick stuff happen in those, in the with the female viewpoint characters, and we see more and more. We see that more and more in general. Like, right, it's whether it's with Egwene, mostly it's with Nynaeve, I guess. And yeah, once again, I feel it feels like a pattern that female viewpoint characters or female viewpoints have this like weird slapstick humor, levity, so to speak, going on there, and male characters don't get that. Which I think, yes, it's like, we don't have to take those women seriously, because that's sort of like the effect that you produce when you add that sort of humor to it. And I would be more happy with it if it were a bit more evenly distributed between the genders. But, it is what it is. Then there's, the small bits and pieces that annoy me, like another discussion that it's all about power and like dominance. Once again, it's like a discussion between Swan Sanche and Egwene, where it's like Swan Sanche is now basically no longer respected as an Aes Sedai because she got like superpower. She lost a lot of power when she was healed from like her stilling, and now she's less powerful, physically powerful, if we want to call magic physically in this case. But yeah, she can't lift as much magic as before. So no one takes her seriously anymore, which is dumb as fuck. But it's the world that it's one of those patterns that I feel come more and more to the fore through these books over time, is that it is all about that dominance, that like who can be top lobster or boss hog, basically. And I don't know. It doesn't fully make sense, because once again we're talking about someone who ran the organization for a long time, is highly competent. Now no one actually listens to her because she can't, lift as much. I mean, come on, that's just dumb. We obviously also have more of the Swan Sanche weird love thing going down, with romance going down with Gareth Bryn, which... So here's the thing, it's like, first of all, they fall in love first time they meet at the beginning of Fires of Heaven, which is already, once more, that's like love at first sight. Well, I guess second sight, but you know what I mean? And then they behave irrationally and have, once again, one of those, like, power struggles going down, where Swan Sanche and Gareth Bryn are doing all the, bullying each other, because obviously a woman like Swan Sanche needs to be dominated hard by Gareth Bryn. Yeah. But we also get, like, the information that, of course, Gareth Bryn is totally spanking her, because, yeah, of course he is, right? It's like... I don't know what to do at this point. It's like, everyone gets spanked sooner or later, especially if they are female. It just happens, because that's the world we live in, or like we don't live in, but that's the world we read about. It's like, it's a brand spanking, no, it's just a spanking world, and it sucks. It just annoys me at this point. It's like, yeah, this is pseudo-medieval things going down. Physical punishment is probably... Corporal punishment is... Yeah, physical punishment is part of it, right? I get it. But the frequency with which it is mentioned just feels cringy, I think. And I don't know. It just, Well, as I said, no big surprise there. We already knew that. And whatever. I don't care too much at this point. I just, Now, we come to the next bit, which is, either, once again, Robert Jordan trying to go for a specific, like, tone, specific way of talking about things that is rooted in some sort of, like, not sources, but, like, inspirations he has, and then completely fucking it up, or him just trying that's how you write these kind of things and fucking it up even harder. And that is the situation with Egwene's, maids. Now she has 3 of them, all 3 sent by different Aes Sedai, each by a different one, possibly to spy on her. And because we have, because we have no, nuance in these books at all. One of them's always grumpy, and the other one is always stupid. Unfortunately, I can't actually describe it any other way. So we have that one maid that is all about, like, how ladies have to behave and what is good for their skin and all about, like, looks and shit. And it is very much described as, her not being very smart, which I think is absolutely horrifying because, look, if you're a visual person, you're very much about, like, appearance and stuff. That does not make that person stupid. It just means they have to focus on that kind of thing. I personally don't focus on my looks. I can live with that. But, that doesn't make me smart automatically. And to have that, that it's sort of that, like, not like like other girls kind of thing. There's like, hi, I'm a smart woman. I don't care about my looks. It's all about the brains. This dichotomy that, like, good looks and high intelligence are for some reason mutually exclusive, and it's a cliche that has been, and hopefully has sort of like not vanished, but like kind of become less egregious over time. But like for a long time, that was just the stereotype. It was the stereotype portrayed in movies, the stereotype portrayed in shows, books, everywhere, and seeped into everyday life, where it's like you either have the smart girl or you have the beautiful girl. You can't have both. And if someone actually pays attention to how they look, they're probably stupid and shallow and whatnot. And that's the one maid. And the other one is just always grumpy and annoying. And I'm like, either you're trying for, your Oscar Wilde, Jane Austen style, having characters be like exaggerations of specific character traits because you want to make fun of those specific character traits through exaggeration. Which, is fine, but then maybe you should be an actually talented writer, Bobby J, which you are not, so it just comes across as really cruel towards your characters, which are incidentally female once again, because of course they are. It sucks. I say that so many times in these books, okay. However, it's just one of the smaller annoyances that I found in here, because, everything here is just like really crude, but we've gone, above. We've gone over this before, I think. What else? Observations. The Aes Sedai, as an organization, are slow to change and slow to adapt and slow to make any decisions worthwhile, because what we really need is a strong man or a strong woman with the Aes Sedai, possibly, because hierarchy, bureaucracy, and structures, ordered structures that follow rules and laws are at its heart bad, and what we need is a strong, dominating authoritarian leader who takes all of that stuff and throws it out and imposes their will, because they are absolutely the best people to do that. Fuck that. That's not how it works. Yes, democracy and shit is slow sometimes. I know that. But what Bobby J is kind of, giving us especially with the Aes Sedai here, the hint is those long established structures with longer times of deliberation and whatnot. They are bad. They are weak, because we once again have that weird lens of dominance. They are weak. They're cowards. They don't decide quickly. Maybe they actually think things through and don't just do stuff because they're the main character of a story and can't go wrong. But we don't know that. So yeah, it kind of feeds into that whole Aes Sedai deep state kind of thing that I mentioned earlier today. Well, yesterday, I guess, once this video gets out. So we have that. Another thing that I find interesting is Bobby J pulling shit out of his arse again. He does that a lot. We kind of know that. The thing that I mean this time is the secret. The secret histories, the secret records, they were never fucking mentioned until book 7, and suddenly they pop up all the time because there's all these things that the Aes Sedai hushed up even to their own, because there's that big like evil conspiracy that's not even the Black fucking Aja. No, it's just due to this being a long-running structure, and stuff gets hushed up, and we don't know about it, and suddenly it gets mentioned in every second fucking chapter. So what am I supposed to take from this? Is this one of Bobby J's, Robert Jordan's famous foreshadowings? Maybe it is. Who knows? I don't know. But basically, it's one more bit of like actually organized structures, whether you want to call them like a state, like government, bureaucracy, organization, whatever, are apparently evil because they definitely hide stuff to protect themselves. They become lazy and fear change, fear making decisions, fear taking responsibilities. Well, what we actually need is fucking dictators. Yeah, fuck you. No, we don't. It's annoying as fuck, and it kind of fits into the whole like pattern of how these books go, and I just don't like that. Because there's like no questioning. There's like, there may be situations where a single individual can act quicker and faster than a structure. Of course they are. The problem, however, is A, you're relying on the fact that that person is actually the correct person to do that, has, moral integrity, intelligence, all the facts at their disposal, and so forth, so their choice will actually be good and not just fast. That's the first one that you're relying on, and that's not how that works. But the other part is that you choose for a society a method, which, could be democracy, could be something else. You choose a way of making decisions, and there's reasons to argue for a specific one. And you could call the Aes Sedai as a structure like maybe a representative democracy if you want to go that way. And once you decide that, you are willing to pay certain prices for that. It's a cost-benefit analysis. You're like, everyone gets to have a say, sort of, through the structure of representative democracy, and that is something that we value. We think it's good because it means that, over the long haul, we'll probably make less terrible decisions. If one person is actually a bad actor, they won't have it that easy to actually, lead everything into doom. So we gotta pay the price of taking a bit more time and effort to make decisions, because everyone gets to, actually take part in it. But Robert Jordan is just throwing all of that under the rug. Is like, you know what, fuck that. It's slow and it's cowardly because they're all afraid. And I've spoken before about the fact that calling it cowardice is something that I find kind of difficult, problematic, but there we are. Is there more in these books? Well, there is the whole thing with Lan, where the only thing that Lan really needs to get over his suffering from losing Moiraine is to get sent to protect Nynaeve, because then he has a goal to live for. And funny, isn't it? It's totally not okay for Moiraine to pass her bond with Lan to Mirella, who is sort of taking care of him, making sure he survives the pain of losing Moiraine and so forth, and then is supposed to pass it on to Nynaeve. Which, it's kind of fucked up already, but there we go. And we get all the conversations about how that is actually bad, and then Egwene just decides that he has to go, makes that decision for Lan and Nynaeve again, and just says, yeah, all right, I'll declare you Nynaeve's warder, so you do that, and then suddenly all is okay again. It's exactly the same thing. It's someone from the outside deciding that they know what's best for everyone concerned on a very, very private matter. It's basically an arranged fucking marriage at the end of the day. But it's good because it's true love, and Egwene knows. Fuck that. Fucking, I don't know. It just annoys the fuck out of me how with like, but they love each other already, is like these kind of things are justified. And I'm like, that's not how you justify those kind of things. You can call, like, passing the bond of a water to someone else without his consent. You can go and call that a lot of things, and it's a problem. You can call that out, but then just do the same thing and justify it with like, but I know better, and that's what they truly want. That's horrific, and it shows very, very little reflection. But then again, we kind of knew that Bobby J's writing is not full of like reflection, I guess. Very few mirrors, actually, but there we are. All right, let's move on to the next annoying bit. Because, oh boy, there's more. There's always more. This is once again the Arangar thing. I've mentioned it before, and we're getting closer to the problem. And this is sort of where I would definitely call it out as transphobic. So what do I mean? So Arangar was... Balthamel or one of those. I don't know which one, Aginor or the other one. I keep forgetting which one was which, and I don't know which one is reconstituted as Osangar and the other one is Arangar, and I don't really care. The point is, they shift gender, and now they can like walk around, seen by everyone as female. Because you remember the female test is showing boobs. Well, apparently that's enough. Seen by everyone as female, accepted by everyone as female, but they're still using their dark male magic, their dude magic, their dick magic, and so they can do all these terrible predatory things, like, go and free Mogideon, and then everyone is running around is looking for a man, because it has to be a man, because only a man can do what they did there. But they don't find that, because they look like a woman. And, yeah. I mean, we're still talking about tents and not bathrooms, but it is still sort of the same problem. It's like, if we allow this, it stokes the same kind of fear. And I think, I'll keep an eye on it and see if it gets more egregious, but it's already pretty fucking bad, is what I would call this situation. It's like... No, don't do that shit. And yeah, I know it's 30 years old, not 25 years old, but still, don't do that shit. It was bad back then. It was just like, public awareness was not that large, but like, in a world that relies so heavily on gender as a concept, that relies so heavily on very firmly established gender roles, on a gender binarity, to do that gender switch, that transition, so to speak, and do it once, do it with a known bad actor, is pretty fucked up. Well, at least they're not wearing, clothes made from human skin or anything, so I guess we're still on the... No, we're not. It sucks, and it's fucked up, but, I'll keep an eye on it, see if it gets even worse, because if I've learned one thing over 6 and a bit books, Bobby J knows how to dig deeper when it comes to shit. So, we'll see. Alright, let's talk about the last bit, and then I'm done for tonight, I think. We switch to Ebudar, and wonder of wonders, we get an Avienda point of view. Which I think, from the outside, I kind of liked Avienda. Yes, she has to give up her pants and wear dresses, and suddenly she also has to, go and wear finer dresses now, because that's sort of what always happens in these books with men and Avienda and everyone else. They give up all their, independence and suddenly wear all silken dresses. Yeah, no. Apart from that, that's not the big deal there. There's a bunch of more problematic aspects here. So what happens is, they go out to the sea folk ship to talk to the sea folk people about getting them to ally with Rand, I guess. and also, to get that weather control bowl, the bowl of the winds, apparently, to get that bit sorted out. We see all of that through Avienda, and that's my first big issue that I have. Avienda's viewpoint, because it's very much a terrible version of the noble savage trope, right? And we've kind of seen the Aiel being your noble savage barbarian types tropes, with all the shit that comes with that. Where you're like, yeah, they're obviously savages, and they have like much less culture. They're primitive in a lot of ways, but with that primitivity goes, moral, moral clarity, clearer, less, sullied by civilization and nuance, more like starker, better morals and stuff, moral fiber. They're also stronger, physically stronger, because of course they are, and all of that stuff. It's something that has been out there as that noble savage trope for a long time. And, it's bad. Of course it's bad. But at the end of the day, to see all of that through Avienda, we're talking about someone who has been around all kinds of world-shifting powers, but she's obviously incapable of leaving her moral background and her education behind after seeing all these world-shattering events. She still thinks very much like a very, very barbaric person in a lot of ways, and that doesn't work like that. And it's demeaning to think that that's how someone leaving their culture behind, even if that's like how people think in their specific culture, which is already demeaning because it's a very simplistic worldview. Most people know that people outside your very specific personal cultural bubble think differently. We all know that, even if we're steeped in our own. We may not like it, but we know that it exists and we accept it normally. Unless we're fucking fascists, but we have all of that going down. And her parts are just written in that demeaning way, using these specific terms, wetlanders, whatnot. It's like white, mostly dudes trying to write, so to speak, exotic characters. When you look at like literature over time, it's like people that use specific words that sound barbarically, romantically poetic and stuff, right? It's always when, white Westerners write about Native Americans, write about people from Africa, probably also from Asia. It's always that thing when you romanticize the thing, and by romanticizing, also demean it, because you pack it into a specific weird box, almost like a zoo. And we have that whole story from Avienda's point of view. And outside of like how people are characterized and played in the, show up in these stories, the way it is told from her perspective just does not take her seriously as a full, paid up human being of the civilized world. And it shows up again and it just fucks me up. Like, why? As I said, it's absolutely demeaning to do it that way. It's sad that Robert Jordan in like 1995 goes that way, right? Like, if 19th century authors go that way when they write terrible, Western stories about Native Americans or whatever, I still don't think it's good. But like, that's old. I thought we've come some way since then. And the whole way the Aiel are described from the outside is often already in that like noble savage kind of stereotype. But now we get like the inside perspective and we see it's the same thing. It's like, why does she, think in these weird categories that she's completely incapable of overcoming? Because, yeah. Which makes it so ridiculous, because we're talking about people that, trade with other countries, that have contact with different cultures and whatnot. Even the Aiel have had that before. So they know that these things are different. But apparently next to, gender, understanding between the different genders, understanding between different cultures is just as impossible. There's stark divides everywhere, and everyone who's not basically a white Anglo-Saxon, a white Andoran, you know, I'll better come up with something for S and something for a Protestant, but um, or we'll just drop the S because they're Andron. Well, like white Andron Protestants, and we call them WAPs. I guess that's an ask. You know what I mean, however. It's like, unless you're like the people from the Two Rivers or Andor in general, which is like morally straight-laced, don't show too much bosom, which, is of course absolutely terrible. And all of these other things, everyone else is either a degenerate, has loose morals, dresses weirdly like Damani, or plays intrigue like Kyrian, or is a noble savage like the Aiel. That's the cultural background that you see in there, and all of our heroes, obviously from Emma's Field, or in Elaine's case from Andor, which, yeah. Why is that, do you think? So yeah, that's another thing that I found really, really, annoying, or like really pissed me off this day, is like how disrespectful it is towards those characters, those cultures. Like, apparently they're still barbarians, and I know they're not. I mean, the idea of barbarian already is like, look, even Conan the motherfucking barbarian in Robert E. Howard's a man known for his cultural sophistication, understanding of all kinds of ethnic, cultural differences, and all of these wonderful things. Robert Irvin Howard made it more like believable with Conan after a while, understanding different cultures while still keeping his own like noble barbarian morality and stuff. He accepts and works within those societies. Aiel are not capable of that, because Robert Jordan apparently didn't even understand the guy he set it out copying in his first like books. Yeah. Oh well. And then there's just a bit of casual misogynist humor in there, right? In the case of Nynaeve, who is, of course, in general, a more and more unbelievable character at this point, and, angry and behaves just irrationally angry all the time. But whatever, I guess. No, what I want to talk about here today is the clothes situation. Now, why do I think this is a problem? So here's what happens, right? Nynaeve is always, talking about good, stout Two Rivers woolens, which is the only proper clothing for a woman. We've already spoken about how basically all conversation of women is about, like, who gets to show how much cleavage when and whatnot, but this is a different aspect now, and that's sort of, and the problem is, like, Nynaeve always claims that good, stout Two River woolens are the only clothes she needs. And at the same time, it is made clear for book after book after fucking book, and now it gets like even mentioned explicitly, how truly she actually wears more and more fine clothes, silks, well, with all kinds of embroideries and stuff, and showing way more cleavage and stuff. And that's fucked up. Because basically what it is trying to tell us on like two levels here, right? Level one, women in general claim to be one thing, claim to, only like all these like sober clothes and good clothes and whatnot. That's what they claim, but secretly they want something else. So you can't actually trust women, trust what women say. You have to look at what they actually mean by it, which is one of those terrible misogynist ideas that like women mean something else than they say. It's the whole idea there's always a subtext to it. Well, that's bullshit. And jokes about that are just really shitty sexist jokes. And it's an ongoing one here with Nynaeve. The second part of that obviously is the underlying theme that kind of goes back to the whole like regal versus slattern thing that I spoke about in the last video. And that is, secretly in their hearts, all those women want to dress like that. All those women want to dress sexy. They may say they will only do it for their man, but deep in their hearts, they're all terrible, I don't want to use any of those words that Robert Jordan probably will use to describe them, but, That's basically the second level of why this is so fucked up. That whole idea is like we have that whole trend, and it kind of lines back and goes back into line, it dovetails with the whole thing about Avienda and Min taking, leaving their pants behind and starting to wear finer and finer clothes. And deep in their hearts, all women want to dress in fine silks with big cleavages. That's all women want in this world, which, is dumb, but it kind of comes back to, we see the same with, what's it, in fucking Two Rivers, when we have those scenes about, like, now that the refugees from Aridaman bring the Domani dressing, which is obviously also morally absolutely abhorrent because it shows, all kinds of, like, risque parts of the body, like maybe an ankle or two, who knows. Right? And the people, the younger people in Two Rivers, and everyone secretly wants to dress like that. That like secretly every woman wants to dress as like in as little clothes as possible, apparently, in this world. But outside, they will always claim moral superiority by dressing in good, stout Two River woolens. And that's, once again, it kind of is part of this like weird underlying misogyny, this underlying sexism of these books that goes to, like, women. You can't trust women. Women need a strong guiding hand. They want that also. And if you don't force like moral behavior on them in some way or other, over the long run, they will all tend to wear like skimpier and skimpier dresses. That's just how it works in these books. And it is absolutely fucked up. And it really annoys the living hell out of me. So yeah, what did we get today? We found out that obviously a democratic government in the White Tower, or like the White Tower in exile, is far too slow to cope with everything. We need strong leaders. We found out that that government has also been hushing up a lot of stuff in the secret histories that suddenly show up in every second chapter. We found out that dudes looking like women are a danger to society. And we found out that all women secretly want to dress in skimpy dresses. Yeah. Also, noble barbarians are basically incapable of ever understanding any other form of like culture. Yeah, it's a mess, right? It sucks. And I'm still, once again, I'm amazed no one is talking about all of these aspects of it, because all of these things are horrific and absolutely shitty on their own. But we get like all of that stuff, and it forms this like larger picture that is just it's I know all of it as a whole is absolutely abhorrent, and it really, really pisses me off. So yeah, with those wonderful thoughts, I'll leave you to it. Thank you if you made it this far. Thank you very much for still bearing with me and my annoyance. Like, subscribe, share, do all of those wonderful things if you feel like it. I would certainly be very, very happy and thankful about it. And yeah, until the next time, cheers.